Hola. ¿Me escuchas? Ahora sí, ¿me escuchas? ¿Cómo estás? Bien,
Bien,
bien, bien, gracias a Dios. Ok, entonces vamos de 2 a 4. Dame un instante. Corto esto aquí. Y
sí, claro. Muy bien, permítame y notifico que se inició. Usted es Viviana Vargas.
yo soy Vivian Vargas, sí, mamita.
Ah, es que en su nombre aparece otra cosa.
Espérate un momentito. Y ese acento, niña, ese acento de costeña, qué cosa tan impresionante. Ese acento costeño que yo conozco bien. Es increíble. Ustedes me iban a ver. Si era la hija mía aquí y te dijera, ay, no, ese acento costeño,
Será,
será. Ok,
ahora sí.
¿vas a iniciar?
Sí, ya inicié.
Perfecto.
Esperemos que lleguen los estudiantes.
No, no creo que llegue nadie, madre.
Ah, no llega
Porque,
nadie.
no, porque primero nunca llega nadie. Y
Ah,
segundo, esta clase, no, nunca, me llegó una el primer día. eh, y ya, y ya estamos, esta es la clase número 7 de ellos y nunca ha entrado nadie a esta clase.
listo. Entonces, voy a hacer dictamen de los parámetros.
Exacto. Tú dale con eso
Ok,
y ya empieza mi clase. ¿Viste?
bueno, listo.
Dale.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Sally Arboleda. Hoy los voy a estar acompañando como moderadora de esta sesión. Voy a dar algunos parámetros para así el docente pueda comenzar con las clases del día de hoy. Algunos parámetros de la sesión por videoconferencia son los siguientes. La sesión se graba, por ende pueden verlo nuevamente en la plataforma. Les solicitamos que por favor silencien sus micrófonos y puedan, cuando quieran hacer consultas o aportes con permiso del docente. Les pedimos que mantengan su cámara activa. De no poder hacerlo, enviar una excusa. De lo contrario, será retirado de la sesión y será restado puntos de la heteroevaluación del docente. Mi rol como moderadora es facilitar y apoyar en la parte técnica. Consultar por el chat. Les exhorto a tener bolígrafo y papel para hacer sus anotaciones y aprovechar al máximo esta sesión. Esta sesión tiene un tiempo de duración de 120 minutos. Sin más que agregar, le vamos a dar espacio a la docente.
Gracias. Good afternoon, everyone. How good to see you again. I'm happy that you are able to watch the videos, even though you are not able to be here with me in the class. Okay. So let's start right away and let's see what's going to be happening today. Okay. So today we are going to be working on, as it says here, the English consonants, part number 3. Remember, we had the opportunity to check part 1 and 2, in the last 2 weeks, where we were talking about some consonants, each of them according to how they were. And then we are going to be talking about some learning problems with consonants, okay? And why is this so important? Because as I explained it to you before, in almost every language, there are some sounds that we don't have in Spanish. So some sounds are just the same, but some sounds are completely different. Now, for example, if we as Spanish speakers wanted to speak French, for example, you know that they speak from their throat. So we are not able to understand, and it's very difficult for us to imitate what they do because we don't have that in Spanish. The same thing happens in English. There are certain things that we don't have, and then what we can do is that to try to learn them and to imitate them the best we can so we can sound as close as they do, okay? Good. Now, remember, this information is for you in case you're teachers. You can use it with your students to help them pronounce better and to understand things better, and for yourselves in order to make your pronunciation better. Now, let's talk about the agenda for today. Like in every class, it's just the same. We're gonna go through the class instructions, then to the class objectives for this module, that is 2 classes. Remember, this is module number 4, and it's classes 7 and 8. And then we go with the introduction for the module. We develop our class, and then we remind you of the homework, okay? This is what's gonna happen today as every class. What are the instructions? Get comfortable, not so comfortable you fall asleep. I have the AC on, I'm very comfortable here, but I'm sitting on my chair, so it's very unlikely I'm gonna feel like, So in your case, you have to be careful with that. Avoid distractions. My cell phone, I already put it in airplane mode, so it doesn't bother us while we are having our class. Understand the objectives. If you understand where we are going, then at the end of the class or at the end of the module, you say, I wanted to learn about this, and I did learn about that, okay? That's why it's important. And then last but not least, don't skip tasks. I'm going to repeat this one more time. You check your class, you check your videos and your readings in the thing, and you first answer the forum. Because the questions in the forum, usually I answer them here. So you have that information fresh in your mind, you go and answer them. Then you go and develop your homework. As you do those 2 things, then when you go to the test, you're ready. You watch your video, you did everything. You watch your class and everything, and then you will be ready to answer your questions successfully, okay? Good. Now, what are the class objectives for this? It says here, distinguish how the English consonant sounds are produced. That's something we have been working since class number 1, remember? Identify the most common problems when articulating consonants. Difficult for us, some of them. Not all of them, but some of them. And improve your own pronunciation. That's something that we are aiming here, that we are able to pronounce better. And remember, we don't have to sound like native, but we need to pronounce well. Because if we pronounce well and then the other person understands, the person can answer, and then there is communication. But if we are not able to pronounce words well and people cannot understand, then in that case, there is no communication because the message was sent, but it wasn't understood. So it didn't get to its point. Do I explain myself? I hope I do. Let's keep going. So let's go with the introduction, and I'm going to be asking you some questions. The question number 1 is it, my mistake, is it, here, let me do something here, give me a second. Let me stop sharing for a second. Give me just a moment. I can't. And give me just a moment. Okay, there I go. The question is it easy for you? Is it easy for you to pronounce words like thought, thing, bridge, king? Remember that last class we were talking about some of the problems non-native speakers face in English. And in the case of Spanish specifically, for example, as I told you, give you the example. No, que voy a ir a coger el bus Voy a coger el bus. Me duelen los ojos. So we have sometimes we just make a mix, a hodgepodge that is not allowed in English, or we just cut the last consonants of the sound, okay, of the word. The last part of the word, we usually cut it. And then this is something important. For example, here, thought, no, it's not thought, it's thought. Thin. Is that you are so thin? So thin. Bridge. And in this case, king. It's not the king. No, it's not the king. It's the king. So in English, we cannot afford to just omit these two things here. It's not the king. It's the king. Okay? So that's something important. Is it easy for you to pronounce those words? Please let me know. Are you sure you are making the right sounds? It takes practice. And then it says, what problems may a person have when learning to pronounce words in English? Those are some of the things that we are going to be checking today, and that's why. So what do you think? We had the opportunity to check some of this last week. What are some of the problems a person may face? The one I told you, for example, the pronunciation of ng, king. I was walking, you know. Sometimes you can drop the last one, but not all of the time. I was singing. No, you're not singing, you are singing. So you have to do it. That's one of the things. The same thing happens with, and I remember when I was at university, the teacher said, okay, there is a problem. There is age, okay? Age. That is like I showed you last time, like it's like a gusanito, like a worm. There is age. That you use it for Shakira. She is not Shakira. She is Shakira, okay? Now, what happens? When you go and you take a bus to go to Panama Oeste, you don't go to Chorrera. No, you go to Chorrera, CH. That is represented with the T and the little worm, the gusanito, remember? So this is something where we as Spanish speakers have some trouble because we have CH, but we don't have H. We don't have this H for Shakira. We don't have it. So sometimes we tend to pronounce it just the same and it's not the same, okay? That's one of the, so one is that sometimes we drop the last consonants that they are not supposed to be dropped. Mainly because in Spanish, usually we have them first, only. Only the S sound is the one that we have at the end. For example, niño, niños, persona, personas, we have it like that in Spanish. But in English, you have here thought, king, bridge, king, sounds, right, making, problems. So the difference between English and Spanish here is great. So first of all, that. Second is that sometimes there are some sounds that we don't have, and then it's difficult for us to recognize or to know when we have to use each of these sounds, okay? That is something that we will be doing here. Now we are going to go with the learning activities. The first one is we're going to be checking for this video. And then after we watch the video one, we are going to be practicing this. But then let's go to the thing first. And then let me show it to you. This is, okay. Let me go and show it. ¿Puedes ver, Rosali, el video? Yes, okay. No, let me share sound too. Share sound. Give me a second. Let me share sound, and then I'm not doing the right thing. Sorry. Here. Can you guys watch the video? Yes? Okay, now you can do. Now we are going to take a look at this. This is an American English pronunciation video. Let's take a look at this for the case of the R, okay? The R as a grapheme and as the morpheme. Let's go.
This American English pronunciation video, we're going to learn how to make the R consonant sound. This is truly one of the hardest sounds in American English. Before I go into how to make it, I want to talk about how not to make it.
Before going there, I want you to notice something. This is the letter. This is how it's represented in English. This is the phoneme. This is the grapheme. This is the letter that you use, and this is how it's represented. Okay, let's continue.
In many languages, the R is made by bouncing the front part of the tongue against the roof of the mouth. Ra, ra. In American English, this sound is the T or D between vowels, but it's quite different from the American R. You can't hold out ra, ra, but you should be able to hold out the American R. This consonant is voiced. There are two ways.
Okay, now, first of all, they're telling you that it's different to the way we do it in Spanish, okay? First. Second, it's saying it's voiced because you say, oh, and then you, oh, and then you may feel the vibration here. That's why we say it's voiced, okay? Now they're going to teach us two ways to make the sound. Let's see how it is.
Ways to make this sound. In the first way, the front part of the tongue pulls back and up, like this. The tongue can be stretched so it's long and skinny, or it can be pulled into itself so it's fatter and thicker, and that's what we want here. We're making the tongue fatter and thicker so it's not as long. The back doesn't move. This is happening with the front and middle of the tongue. The middle part of the tongue lifts up towards the roof of the mouth. You can touch the sides of the tongue to the sides of the roof of the mouth here, or to the inside or bottom of the side teeth here. The front part of the tongue is hanging in the middle of the mouth, not touching anything. This sound is forward and focused because of the position of the lips. The corners come in, pushing the lips away from the face. This lip position will be a little more relaxed when the R comes at the end of a syllable. We'll compare this way on the left with the other way to make an R on the right. The R can also be made by flipping the tongue tip up. The lips flare the same way. Some native speakers make the R one way and some the other. Native speakers get the correct sound no matter the up. The lips flare the same way.
So here we have two ways. I want you to notice how this is the tongue and how it goes back, okay? And then here you have the tongue and how the tip of the tongue goes up in the mouth, okay?
Some native speakers make the R one way and some the other. Native speakers get the correct sound no matter the mouth position. But I've found that non-native speakers often drop the jaw too much in this second method, and it makes the sound hollow. The jaw doesn't need to drop very much for this sound. So keep this in mind as you work on one of these two methods. Here's the R sound on its own, not part of a word. You can see the lips flare. Think of creating a little space between the inside of your lips and your teeth. Notice how little jaw drop there is. We don't need to drop the jaw to pull the tongue back and up. The word rest. When the R is at the beginning of a word, we tend to make the lips a tight circle.
Rest.
Again, little jaw drop as the middle of the tongue lifts to the roof of the mouth. The word proud. When R is in a beginning consonant cluster, the lips may not be as tight as in a beginning R. The word mother. At the end of a syllable, the lip position for the R is definitely more relaxed than a beginning R, but the lips still flare. Here we compare the lip position of the beginning R in rest above to the ending R in mother below. The ending R lip position is much more relaxed. Thinking about the lip position will help you make a better R sound. As you work on this consonant, practice very slowly, thinking about all three things at once: very little jaw drop, the tongue position, and the lip position. Remember, you can hold out this sound, so that's how you want to practice it. Hold it out for 5 or 10 seconds. Hold it out as long as you can. When you practice it in a word, do the same. Rest. Proud. Mother. The R sound. Rest.
So what I invite you to do is, as you are watching this video, if you need to go back, go back. As you're watching this video, you go to the thing and you practice it just as she's telling you to practice it there. And then you will find a way to do it on you.
Proud. Mother. Example words. Repeat with me. Read. Read. Great. Great. Try. Try. Later. Later. Right. Right. Other. Other.
Prueba el poder blanqueador del...
Okay. Now, this is about the first consonant that we are having here, which grapheme is R. Okay. The way we pronounce it is different. One thing is the grapheme, how we write it, and one thing is the phoneme, how we pronounce it. Okay. So we are talking about that one first. Now, what about the Y? Y as the letter, the grapheme, but the sound, okay? It's gonna be different. Now let's take a look at this and let's see what they say about this sound. Give me a moment. Let's take a look at this video very carefully. Remember, you can stop the video and then you can practice in the meantime. Give me a second.
English pronunciation video, we're going to go over how to pronounce the Y consonant. To make the Y sound, the jaw drops a little bit. Y. The lips may be relaxed, or they may begin to take the position of the next sound. The tongue tip is down, lightly touching the back of the bottom front teeth. The middle part of the tongue lifts and touches the roof of the mouth. It pushes forward against the roof of the mouth before pulling away. As we push the tongue forward on the roof of the mouth, we close the vocal cords to get this sound, which we add to the sound, y, y. We release them the same time we release the tongue. Relaxed jaw drop, and the lips are relaxed. The tongue tip is down while the middle of the tongue presses forward against the roof of the mouth. The word yes. The tongue tip is down while the middle of the tongue presses forward against the roof of the mouth. The tongue releases.
So we go like this. Yes. Yes. But it goes from yes. Yes. So it's not yes. It's yes. It comes from here. We usually say yes and people understand. But the way they do it, the way we pronounce it, it comes from here. Yes. Okay?
Releases into the as in bed vowel. The word youth. Notice how the lips begin to round for the next sound, the oo as in boo vowel.
So we have the word here, youth. Youth. It comes from here. Youth. And then remember that I explained to you last class that you have to put your tongue between your teeth and then you say youth. It's just a sound.
Yell. The tongue tip is down while the middle of the tongue presses forward against the roof of the mouth, releasing into the as in bed vowel. This sound is most common at the beginning of words. It doesn't occur at the end of any words, though the letter Y does. The Y sound. Yes.
Yes.
Youth.
Youth.
Yell.
Yell.
Example words. Repeat with me. Yeah.
Come on, you can repeat. Stop and repeat with her as she as the video.
Yeah. Unusual.
So I want you to notice something. This is important. One thing is the letter and one thing is the sound. This is something that I have been repeating and I need you to understand. Una cosa es el sonido y otra cosa es la letra. Okay? Now, we are talking about the sound E that is represented by sometimes the letter Y. Now, what happens? Can you see the letter Y here? No, but it's unusual. Unusual. And it's not unusual, it's unusual. Unusual. Can you notice? So it's the sound that goes here. Even though you have this letter over here, the sound is going to be unusual. Okay? This is important.
Unusual. Senior.
So notice this. Senior. Notice. Can you see the sound? The letter Y there? No, it's the sound. Senior.
Senior. You. Yesterday. Yesterday.
Now notice the difference. In this case, you do have the letter Y. So you say yesterday. Yesterday.
Yellow. Yellow.
Okay, good. So this is something I cannot do for you. If you feel that you have trouble or you have realized that you have trouble or someone has told you, I cannot understand when you say something like this because you are not pronouncing it well or you just notice or you can listen to it, then you need to practice this, okay? And then this is not the only video, there are many videos on the internet that are going to help you practice this or a native speaker and then they can do it and then model it for you and then you can go ahead and do it, okay? Now let's continue over here. Let's go with this. And then, oh, sorry. Let's go with this. And then we said that after doing that, we will have some activities to work on. Let's go with the first one. It says, after watching video 1 or number 1, practice the sound or by pronouncing the following words. And then we have the first one over here. You can stop the video. You can do it on your own. I'm gonna do it just for you to know it, but you can do it, and then you can, I don't know why this repeated. This was not like this. Well, now we have here rage, rage, rail, railroad, rain, rainforest, race, rise, range. Okay, you can practice those words. You practice them with your own, and that would be it. But you need to practice. Okay. Now, after watching the video 2, practice pronouncing the following words. So we have candy, we have deny, but I want you to notice something, and I did this on purpose. You're not gonna say kanj, no, okay? These are at the end, but they here, the sound is like the I, okay? Like this letter over here, like this sound. Candy, deny, bicycle, acrylic, Yahoo, Yahoo or Yahoo, young, yesterday, and gel. So you need to go ahead and practice this. They have different sounds. For example, sometimes like this is like, for example, here you have sky, where it's like, let me see if I can do this for you. We have bicycle, that is just like this. We have pony, that is just like an E. We cannot see it from here, right? But this is what I want to show you. We have candy, like an I. Bicycle is a shorter one. Yahoo, then now it's Yahoo. It's the sound I use. Okay, let's continue now. We have something else to do, and we have a couple of readings to work on. The reading number 1 and the reading number 2 in your platform. Let's take a look at this. Let me close this, and then let's take a look at this. Okay, it says, you remember we had the opportunity to check this before. We had the opportunity to check this, and then we have this. This is important for you to learn. Remember, the one that looks like a worm is H, like SH. The one that is like a T and a worm is the CH. Now we have this one over here, and this one is the D and a Z, like a Z, like a D and a Z. And it works in words like this: jib, gesture, joust, jump. Is it j? Is it jib? Is it j? Is it j? Is it j? It's gonna be represented like this in English. Important. Now, it says that it's going to change according to the tongue and everything, that the way that you do it is going to be depending on where in the word is. If it's at the beginning, in the middle, or if it has a consonant before, or if it's between vowels, or if it's consonant preceding. So let's just practice them, okay? You can stop again, and then you can practice it. We have just, jar, jerk, midget, fragile, urgent, danger, soldier, and it says object, rich, large, age, change, punch, hinge. You notice the ch. However, it is not CH or SH. Let's go again. It is voiced because you say j, j, j. You can feel the vibration. Palatal alveolar, which means that is go in between these two, the alveolar and the palatal. It's an affricate sound because you can feel you can feel that stops and then goes out the sound, and it's oral. Now, they have something called the retroflex, and there is only one in English, that is this one, that is the R1. And then in this case, we have, for example, the words red, wrote, wrong, read. And then according to the position, we have, for example, rope, real, up, mirror, very, error, far, poor, here, okay? It says that it's a very tricky consonant. Let's read this very carefully. Or is a very tricky consonant. Many people think that or is still rolled in the mouth, although this could be said about Scottish English. It is not about, it's not true about RP. The tongue tip is fairly close to the back of the alveolar ridge, with sides of the tongue in contact with the sides of the palate. Or. Yeah, it's not produced when it comes before a consonant, even if it's written. The same is true if or comes at the end of a word. So it is only pronounced if the following word begins with a vowel. Now, something important here, it's voiced, it's postalveolar, and then it says that it's retroflex because of the way you put your tongue back, and it says that the position is oral, okay? Now, the palatal. The palatal sounds, notice here. I want you to see this. The palatal, this is the palatal over here. And then the tongue goes up to the palatal. And then we have the case of this when it's like the Y sounding like this, the ones that we just checked in the video. Let's read this, okay? Palatal sounds are made with the front of the tongue articulating against the hard palate. There is one palatal sound in English, that is Y. In words such as yes, yesterday, young, and then you can feel young, yesterday. You can feel how it goes up. So it may be at the beginning or in the middle or at the end. Like for example, year, young, you, lodger, beauty, value. It says, this may look like a J sound, but it is the phonetic representation of the Y sound. Important. That's something I want you to see, okay? I told you before, this is the Y. It's a J, but it's representing the Y sound, one of the 4 Y sounds. It is a semi-vowel, having some of the qualities of a vowel and of a consonant. It seems to start like a vowel before moving to the obstruction. It sounds traditional. Obstructionist is a traditional sound of the consonant. This symbol is known as the yot or yot. It's voiced because it's a palatal because your tongue goes up to the palate. It's an approximant, and it's oral because the air flows over your mouth. Then we continue and we go to the labial velars. The labial velars, it says, we have example here, the letter, let's see, what's the sound, okay? Like, as the palatal velar consonant, the sound has a double placing articulation, a double place of articulation, meaning that it's produced at the labial and the velar area. For the production of the consonants, the lips get approximated at the same time that the back of the tongue and the soft palate get near. Examples, wet, wet, nowhere, nowhere. So you feel your nose, for example, you feel here, but you feel also how it closes over here. With and nowhere. It is considered voice, okay? And then we have some examples of some words that we can use in this case, like such as weather, you use this and then you use his. Weather, watch, worth, tweak, 12. And it says here, queen. Why does it say queen? It's not because of the Q, it's the U. The U in that case is going to sound like queen. It sounds like that. This sound doesn't appear in the word's final position. Okay. Now, this consonant is also known as a semi-vowel. The articulation of this letter makes it sound as if it starts with the U vowel before coming an obstruction of the air flow. The obstruction never causes enough friction to make it sound like a fricative, okay? Now, again, this is a semi-vowel they consider this one because of the way it's, the way the air is blocked, right? And then it says it started because you say it sounds like a U, okay? But then when you go here, wing, then you notice how it closes over here. And it's oral because the air flows in the mouth. Then we go with the glottal words. In English, there is only one sound that is glottal. And that sound is what we know as, okay? In words such as hen, ahead, because they go from here, hen, it goes from the glottis, ahead, aha, ahead. Glottal refers to the glottis, as I just told you, where this consonant is produced by the close contact of the vocal folds that produce friction, okay? And then we have some words here to practice, as for example, he, his, hate, how, who, or anyhow. And it says, now, the sound it says, as in hot, hotel, hole, and head. We have here some other words to practice like heart, heel, help, behave, ahead, and ear, and then they don't have final positions, okay? It is said to be voiced, to be glottal because it's produced here. It's said to be fricative because then the air goes out. And there is a glottal plosive sound in English, but it is not characteristic of the language. Only as a specific accent, it is therefore considered an allophone, and it's in the south of London. We are not going to be stopping there. Now, talking about manner of articulation, we are going to review this very briefly. We have that in the manner of articulation, we are talking about stops, and it says that stops is a complete closure of articulations, like the example I gave you, like those sounds, they close. You close your lips, and then the air stops. So it refers to that. Now, we have the case of P and B that are bilabial and are stops because you close your lips. T and D that are veolar because you close at that moment. You close completely. Then we have K, K that are velar. At that moment they join, no air goes. And then it says there are 3 nasal stops like and ng. Those 3, the air goes not through the oral part of the mouth, but through the nose. And these are the case in which we have stops, okay? Now, interesting, it says also known as plosives, okay? That's why you sometimes see like says that, for example, P or B, they are plosives, and you are like, but the teacher told me that they were stops. No, yes, it's the same. Stops and plosives, as you can see here, is exactly the same. And then it says here that all the nasal stops are voiced. The nasal stops are M, N, and G, 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 N. You see? The 3 of them, you can feel them over here, so you say they are voiced. Now the fricatives, as I had explained it to you before, in the case of the fricatives, is where although they get together or they get close, the air is able to go out. Let's take a look at this. Fricatives are sounds that are produced with a close approximation between the articulators, which allows the air to escape with some friction. The escaping air is turbulent and is called frication. The following consonants are fricative in English. Sorry. All of them, if you put your mouth like this, your hand in front of your mouth, you are going to notice how the air flows. That's why they are called fricatives. We have the approximants. We haven't spoken about this one so far. Let's take a look at them. After frication, articulators can become approximated without producing any kind of friction nor contact. Approximant consonants in English are O, R, W, O, U, O, and J. That is for Y. All approximants in English are voiced. R is a retroflex, and O has been described as an alveolar. Okay. Now, we have the approximants over here. It says when you produce no friction or any contact. Okay. Like, for example, just. Okay. Then we have the affricates, where you stop and you at the same time you let the air go. Affricates are the sequences of stop plus fricative. The articulators get together and then release the stage is done progressively, producing friction. The affricate sounds in English are ch, ch, and sh, sh, ch, 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 and the other one is the one that sounds like, well, ch, or the sounds that goes like that, and the other one is like j, 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 j. Okay. Now, for example, George, Janet, and then we have that example over here. The nasals. The nasals are the ones that go through your nose. The air is left over the nose. Nasal sounds happen when there is vellic opening and there is a complete obstruction of some point in the mouth, so that the airflow escapes only through the nose. We will consider nasal consonants as distinctive type of articulation. That means that all other matters of articulation previously mentioned are actually oral sounds, where vellic opening does not take place because the soft palate is raised. Yes, it's exactly that. Only the sounds that are m, ng, all those three sounds, and then we have, for example, the case of this is oral and these are okay, but ng. Those three sounds are nasal because the flow of air is through the nose and not through the mouth, that are oral. Then they have some other classification that is a little bit more complicated, but we are not going to be taking a look at that. Now let's review. Let's see if we so far are okay. We said that when we are talking about English consonants, in order to know how they are produced, we have to have three things into consideration. Three things. Number one, the voicing. The voicing refers to the vocal cords or the vocal folds. It's the same thing. If they close and vibrate, we say that is voiced. If they are open and they don't get together, just stay like this, then we say that they are voiceless. Okay. Now, what happens? How do you know? You are going to put your fingers over here, and then according to the thing, then you're going to say your fingers in your throat, and according to the thing, you're going to say if they are. I push myself so too hard. Me empujé muy duro. Y ahora me dio tos. Okay. You're going to put your finger here, and then according to what you feel, then you're going to say, for example, you don't feel anything, do you? And then you say, then you feel the thing. And then you say they are voiced, okay? Now, that's the voicing, number one. So you say if they are voiced or voiceless. Number 2, you are going to talk about the place of articulation. And in the place of articulation, we talk about how, where in the mouth the sound is produced. If it's bilabial, because you put your two lips together. If it's a labiodental, because you have the lower lip and the upper teeth. If it's interdental or dental, because you put your tongue over there like think, thought. Or if it's alveolar, because you put your tongue in the alveolar to produce the sound. Or if it's palatal, alveolar, because you use your palate, your alveolar, and then your palatal as well. And then we were talking about those. If they're velar, because the sound is produced over here on the back, or if it's glottal, because the sound is produced here, like that is produced in the glottis. That's when we talk about place of articulation. Now let's talk about manner of articulation. Refers to where or how the sound is produced. Not where in the mouth, sorry, but how the sound is produced. And in this case, we talk about stops, and it's when the air just stops. The air cannot be released when the articulators get together. Or we talk about the stops, we talk about the fricatives, is that when you let the air go, and then the affricates, where you have both of them. You have the stop for a second, and then you let the air go. And then you have the nasals. That is when the flow of air is not produced in the mouth, but is produced through your nose. Okay, so far so clear? Good job. Let me continue here. Let me put this. Okay, good. Now we are going to be talking about some learning problems with consonants. Okay. Now it would be pretty nice if you guys were here, because it would be easier. But let's take a look at this and let's see what things we can read. Okay. Learning problems in pronouncing new sounds may vary on the sound system of the native language. What I told you, in English we have CH, we have cho. Ese es el cholo de la chorrera. Okay? But we don't have H. We don't have Shakira sound. Shh, shh. That's for Argentinian people, not for us. Now, it says here, to predict the kinds of problems their students might have, teachers need at least a basic knowledge of the sound system of the learner's language. But whatever the student's language is, the general types of problems can be similar. Some sources of problems can be, it says here, new sounds, okay? It says here, new sounds, and it says, when learners try to produce a sound that doesn't exist in their own language, it's naturally difficult, and they may substitute a similar but not identical sound from their language, for example, many languages don't contain the phonemes. Let me do something. I'm gonna open this a little bit because it's too small for me, and I'm suffering there, and maybe for you. I think we can see better. For example, many languages don't contain phonemes the or the. Remember, we said that this one was the, and this one was the. So speakers of those languages often have a hard time hearing and distinguishing these new sounds. When they try to say the new sounds, they often substitute more familiar sounds like for. So people try to say, and I told you last time, I have told you several times this class, sometimes people say, I was thinking, or I was thinking. No, they replace, or I was thinking. No, you don't think, you don't think, you don't think, you think. Think, it's different. A and then the Z, the V, or the D for the schwa that we use for da. It is important to help students hear and understand that there actually is a difference between the new sounds and the familiar first language sounds, so they can begin to pronounce the new sounds more accurately. If we allow learners to assume that the new sounds are identical to the sounds in their own language, they will have little chance of pronouncing new sounds well. And it's difficult because, for example, in a child, that's why you send your sons to bilingual schools, because a child, when they are children and then they learn how to make these sounds, is way easier for them. But for example, in us, as adults, when we are learning a new language, it's very difficult for us to be able to pronounce the words, the sounds the way they are. Familiar sounds in unfamiliar environments. So the first problem that a person may have is the new sounds. The second one says familiar sounds in unfamiliar environments. There can also be sounds that are easy for learners to pronounce in some phonetic environments, but difficult in others. For example, the glide is not a serious problem for the Japanese or Korean speakers when followed by most vowels. Saying wet, way, wine is not hard. However, when W, in this case, is followed by U, W, or U, it's more of a problem. Words like woman, wood, and woo are a pronunciation challenge. This is because those languages have sound combinations similar to we, we, wa, but no combinations like woo. The fact that the sounds of u are very similar can also make it hard for learners to pronounce them in sequence, and wood can end up sounding like wood. The same situation happens with y in this case. Before the similar sounds I, W, I, Y, and I, it is hard for many learners to distinguish year and ear, just and east. Okay? So what was the first one? Let's review to have it clear. The new sounds. What was the second one? Familiar sounds in unfamiliar environments. Why? Because a language may have something that is similar, and then they say, okay, I can use that, but then it's a different letter, the one that they have to pronounce, and it's going to get more difficult. Final consonants. Consonants at the end of the words are more often troublesome than the same consonants at the beginning of the words. This is especially true for those whose native language does not allow any consonants at the end of the words, or perhaps only a limited set of consonants. In Spanish, for example, in what consonants do words finish in Spanish? For example, the word es, as I told you before, puertas, vestidos, niñas, niños, okay? Profesor, autor, actor, are, or it can be vivían, comían, tenían, and. Those are like a limited set of consonants that I remember that we in Spanish we finish the words. Now, what happens? It says when learners have trouble pronouncing final consonants, they cope different ways, depending partly on the language background. Speakers of some languages tend to omit final consonants, like we do in Spanish. Que viene el bus, yo no veo. Mira, fíjate para ver si viene el bus. We eat them. So we are those types of learners, the ones that omit the final consonants. So, for example, they may pronounce meat as new, or back as back, or back. I'm not gonna come back. No, I'm not gonna come back. No, I'm not going to come back. Okay, in English that's different. So the first one is new sounds. The second one is familiar sounds in unfamiliar environments, and then final consonants. Now, Another problem with final consonants, well, they have it in other languages. We don't have them here in Spanish. Okay, let's go. Because all these changes fit the familiar patterns that learners are used to using in their own language. They don't realize that they are changing anything. They unconsciously reshape new words to fit the comfortable pattern of the new language. And this is a very important word. The comfortable pattern of their new language. So this is what we do most of the time. We look for something like the way we do in Spanish in order to put them in English. They're not gonna sound the same, but we do it anyhow. Now, consonant clusters. Language also have different restrictions on what kind of syllables and consonant combinations are possible. Some languages don't have consonant clusters at all. Others have few consonant clusters than English, or they allow different combinations of consonants. Learners whose language have different syllable structure rules than English may have trouble pronouncing the words with consonant clusters. Consonant clusters, for example, in Spanish, that we have things together, CR, TR, PR, those are maybe the ones that we may have. But other than that, it's very rare that we have consonant cluster. Learners cope with the familiar consonant clusters in different ways. They might omit one or more of the consonants. For example, they might pronounce section as section. That's a section, section. It is section. It's not section, it's section. I was looking at that section, it's different. It's section, okay? Or spring, spring, not to have the but no, I went last spring, I went somewhere to visit or something. Other learners add an extra vowel before or between the consonants. For example, school might become school, or spring might become spring. All these changes, all these are changes that learners unconsciously produce to make words more comfortable and easier to pronounce. If we continue trying to do that, it's going to be very difficult for us to understand and to be able to speak English in a way that is understandable for people. Let's continue. Some consonant sounds that often cause a problem. Now let's take a look at that. Or the lips, when we are pronouncing the or, the lips are a little bit rounded, and the tip of the tongue does not touch the roof of the mouth. This is different from the sound spells with letter or in some other languages. The or, both in American and British English, is not a flap or a trill as it is in Spanish, Russian, Arabic, and many other languages. Some speakers pronounce or with the tip of the tongue curl a little bit. Others say it with the back of the tongue pulled back and bunch up without curling the tip. Both ways can produce the same sound, and students should use the way that produces best result for them. So you don't have to be attached to, I have to use this one. You can use either of them and it will be okay. What else do we have? We have the case of boo, we have being. If students put their teeth too far forward of the lower lip or be too hard, it will be hard to get enough air coming to make the sound proper. Okay, and then we have here some other examples. Please, I need you to take a look at this. Remember the and the the and the one that lets the air go and the one that doesn't. And then this is the way it is, okay? These are diagrams they give you here, and I don't think there is anything else. We can take a look in this side. Okay, now, let's go back to our presentation. And let's continue here. Now, after reading, checking one, let's practice with these words. So what about the first one? You practice it. Come on. It says jeep. You remember for the Y, jeep, gesture. But I want you to notice that you have here or two over here. You have jeep, and then you have gesture, gesture. We have two of them over here. And then we have red, red. And then we have road, road. And then we have year, year. We have young, young, win, win, which, hot, hot, hotel, hotel. These are some examples of words that you need to practice, you can use to practice, and then you can, according to what you have watched in the videos and what you have done, you can have the possibility to practice this. Now, this is your turn. You are supposed to go to your platform, look for the reading too, and then you are supposed to come for what for problems, you have to answer these questions. What for problems may have a language learning in terms of pronunciation in English? You already know them, right? And what consonant sounds can give trouble to an English learner? Pardon. So, there's nobody here, but I highly advise you to do this. We read it, so this shouldn't be difficult. New sounds, familiar sounds in familiar environments, and things like that, okay? And then this is it. This is what we had to do today. I want us to take a look at the forum before leaving. Give me a second, because I want to see what the forum is so we can share it. And in any occasion, I can answer it for you. Give me just a moment. I'm entering settings. Give me a second. Coming with you. Give me a second. I'm entering settings so you can take a look at what I'm doing. And here we are. Let's go to module number 4. Remember, this module is going to be working for us for 2 weeks. Okay. And this is everything that we have been doing today and practicing. And then we have, how is a glottal sound produced? Provide 5 examples. Remember, there is only one glottal sound in English, and it's for the H, okay? That is represented with an H. It's produced in the glottis because you close over there. No, you don't close. You have the strength, you apply the strength over there, and you, okay? That is the sound. 5 examples: hen, Howard, hyper, horse, and home. Those are 4 or 5 examples that you may use, okay? And then you have to go to the other activity that is a PowerPoint. And then it's about the most difficult sounds in English for learners to produce. This is exactly what we were doing. You are going to present it in a PowerPoint, and then you're going to go with your test. Okay? That's the way it goes. Give me a second. Okay, homework reminder, you need to work on your photo, on your assignment, or your test. And I remind you, as always, to visit your virtual library. It's very important for everything that you want to know, everything that you need to work on, and then you need information from books. You have that library that is available for you to learn everything that you need to learn, okay? Now, that will be it for me today. I'm gonna pass you to Ms. Arboleda now, so she can say goodbye to you. I'm really thankful that you were here for the day. And here we are. I will see you on Thursday, okay? Thank you, guys. Elis, terminé. No me pude extender más porque ya no me podía extender más, así que termino por hoy. Puedes darle la cuestión. Una sola cosa que se me hizo rara, siempre cuando yo entro a la clase, le dan recording, ya no le dan recording.
No sabría decirle. Deje yo consulto.
Todas las clases, bueno, no, ya yo terminé aquí hoy, ¿oíste?
Ok.
Porque ya no puedo estirar más porque es que lo que siempre les digo, o sea, sin estudiantes estoy yo ahí, hable y hable y hable, pero ya llega un momento en que no más. Pero sí se me hizo raro, porque siempre cuando yo entro me colocan, dizque, recording, entonces yo le doy a aceptar acá, le doy got it, pero no lo vi, o sea, no, ¿cómo te explico? En el momento no, pero a medida que fui avanzando y hablando ahorita, y miré otra vez y yo dije, qué raro. ¿O será que ahora queda grabado en YouTube y ya no lo hacen? No sé.
Yo lo grabé, yo lo puse a grabar.
Ah, ¿tú lo tienes grabado?
Sí, ya está grabado en YouTube, está grabando en vivo.
Ah, perfecto, no hay problema. Sí, sí, es que me inquietaba eso porque generalmente me ponen una cuestión que me dice recording y yo le doy got it, pero no pasa nada. Así que terminamos por hoy. ¿Dónde estás
Bueno,
tú?
en Colombia.
No, pero ¿en dónde?
No le entiendo. ¿En dónde?
O sea, ¿pero estás en Tierras Altas con Viamar o estás en Cartagena?
Ah, no, estoy en Cereté, Córdoba.
¿Estás en Cereté?
Sí,
Hace muchísimos años que no voy a CRT.
sí.
Yo, sí, si ya paras eso para poder conversar contigo, si lo paras, se
Ah,
cierra.
bueno, listo, entonces damos por finalizado la sesión. Deja y